सो हे गाइस, स्वागत है आप सबका मेरे चैनल पे सुनो कहानी में। तो हम लोग पढ़े थे रेड फ्लैग्स एंड रिश्तास, जिसके मैंने 5 चैप्टर ऑलरेडी अपलोड कर दिया है। तो यू कैन गो एंड वॉच देम और लिसन वट एवर यू वांट टू डू। बट आज हम पढ़ेंगे 6 चैप्टर। और अब तक आपको 5 चैप्टर में कैसा लगा, कौन सा पार्ट सही लगा, प्लीज़ कमेंट करें। सो लेट्स स्टार्ट। Occupational hazard. The days leading up to the car launch felt long and stuffed with work. Because of Ryan's prolonged sick leave, I had to do a fair portion of his work, which involved speaking to different vendors, managing equipment, and of course, the transportation of the car. He only showed up to work at the end of the week, 5 working days before the event. I had secretly hoped Pooja would ask him to work over the weekend, but his fake allergies and constant sniffing got him off the hook. My own to-do list was tackled smoothly except for one minor roadblock. Still, a split team had taken one look at the guest list and signaled out the influencer with most followers, Yara Gupta. At the rate, I am Kiki. They insisted on her being one of the guaranteed promoters of our barter deal. I knew better than to promise a particular influencer or celebrity to a brand because there was no way I could be sure I would be able to deliver on it. There was a multiple things that could go wrong. Influencer could refuse to endorse a brand for free, even in an editorial scene like ours, or worse, simple not show up. After all, there was no contract holding them responsible. They were just guests coming to partake in a mutually appreciative social media parade. But Adar's emails, which one on the surface were completely respectful, seemed to be taunting me. When I informed him that I could not ensure which influencer posted at their bar, he wrote to me saying, we expect someone of your skill and experience will be able to manage a social media celebrity perfectly well. And so, like a complete unthinking idiot, I told him I would manage it perfectly well, all right. We continued to exchange emails as we include closer to the event, but made no reference to the evening we would spend together at Lay Cloud, which honestly is how I preferred it. That meal had definitely been a grey area in our professional relationship. It was better if his presence was limited to this email chat box, but our days of exchanging virtual necessities were limited. The night of the event rolled in sooner than I would imagined, buried under Ryan's and my own work. I barely realized where the time went. Is he going to be there tonight? Asked Virinda, my date for the night, as she carefully tucked her dress inside the back seat of my father's car. He who? Dad asked, adjusting the rear view mirror. Nobody, I said, throwing her a look. Oops, she mouthed. I had not told my parents about my continued interaction with the match they would found for me, for fear that they would believe it was volunteer or worse, destiny. They would be bummed when I would told them Adar and I had no interest in each other, but I had agreed to not set up with any new man, at least for the time being. You look great, don't worry, we whispered to me after my dad had dropped us off in front of Lake Cloud. I had been buttoning and unbuttoning my suit jacket repeatedly for the past hour, unable to decide which made me look cooler. Did you forget that my mom said I looked like your clover? I said, pointing to V's black mesh gown, which had a plugging neckline. She looked like a celebrity, and to be honest, a teeny part of me felt like she had one upped me at my own event. She waved at she waved me away with a piff and said, I am the basic bitch at any party, but you. She posed to give me a once over and whistled dramatically. You are rocking that power suit. I scolded myself internally, swelling any envy I may have felt for my best friend, linking any arm through hers. I stepped onto the sidewalk. The launch was not scheduled to be being until 7 p.m., which meant it would be at least an hour before the street lay cloud was on. Started looking lack of parking space in the busy neighborhood of Defense Colony. I could only hope that it would be enough. Selvi, Brenda asked, stepping aside as the bouncer held the door open for us. The alley looked better than I would hoped. The hanging lanterns awarded it the perfect lighting for a photo booth, and we was determined to try it out. Come on, it will be like a prom photo, she insisted, dragging me in front of the photographer. Alex, our editorial photographer, was happy to have his first subject for the evening. You guys look great, he said, then pointed to the small table to our right. Can I interest you in some props? Oh, cute, we said as she picked up a teeny frilled umbrella. I feel like I'm a fairy. Fairy. Your French accent is truly hideous, I said with a laugh and crowned my head with a knitted braid. Our little moment was interrupted by my boss, who looked stunning in emerald green evening gown and diamond danglers. I did not get to tell her any of that because she refused to waste a second on customary broken the office iPhone. The DJ was running late. The backup for the DJ was not so, and Ryan needed help with something she could not remember. I stood there waiting to see if there was more, but she gave me a look that screamed, "Chop chop." "Can I help?" we asked as we walked over the main area. I looked around. The space seemed smaller now that a rose gold luxury sedan sat right in the middle of it. But Lee Cloud's interior complemented the the personality of the car perfectly, casting a golden glow on and around it. Why don't you get yourself a drink? I'll join you once things kick off, I said and sort of my friend to the bar after doing a double scan for Adar and coming up empty. For a second, I let myself dream about the possibility of him bailing. That I was sucked into an intern briefing huddle and had to shove him out of my head. The intern who had been with us the longest, Rajat, got to do what they did best: take boomerangs, slow mos, and fake candidate shots of anyone or everyone who mattered. I floated through the room, supervising my team and interacting with familiar faces with the office. Since this was a branded event, the editorial team was not required to show up. Nevertheless, a few had decided to make an appearance, no doubt to enjoy a night for free food and booze. Hina, the junior copywriter, was one of them. She would even brought a plus one. "Oh my god, I love your suit," she said, her voice strangely high pitched. She proceeded to introduce me to her date, whose name I instantly categorized as unimportant and therefore did not care to retain. I was going to meet a shit ton of people tonight. It would be impossible to remember all of their names, so I had to make sure I had space for the important ones. I spotted Jerry in the crowd, the manager I would met during my previous visit, and excused myself to go say hi. The smaller influencer arrived early, some even before 7 p.m. I spent a few minutes with each of them, showing them around while I had the time. My experience told me that it was the micro influencers who proved to be the most beneficial. They had not been to many events and were just happy to be included. They would go home and post a ton of pictures, always remembering to use our hashtag and tag our profile out of their eagerness to be reposted and credited. Bigger fish like Kyra turned up late and threw tantrums. By 8 p.m., the party was in full swing, and I could finally steal a few minutes to go chat with Virinda. She was standing by one of the tables near the DJ console. "I'm sorry. How are you doing?" I asked, wrapping one arm around her waist. Her crystal heels gave her a boost that her already tall frame did not quite need, and I fit in snugly against her shoulders. "Oh, don't worry about me. I'm happily getting drunk," she said, waving a hand at me. My best friend had the enviable quality of looking comfortable at parties where she did not know a single person. Her confidence inevitably drew others to her. I stayed by her side for a while, giving her backstories about all the people from work. She made me down her drink, instruct, interest, instructing me to have a bit of fun before the night was over. "I'll be find my way back to you," I said and blew her a kiss as I walked away to scan the room and play social kitten. I spotted Adar instantly. He was leaning against the bar talking to a woman I did not recognize. He caught me looking at him before I could glance away and raised his glass in my direction. I scoffed. Who did he think he was? Jay guessed way. I did not bother walking up to the bar to greet him. There were more important things that needed to be dealt with, like a swarm of interns who had crowded around a stand-up comedian to take selfies. I glared at them after the guy walked away. "Take photos of the guest, not with them," I said, shaking my head at the 420 something in front of me. They mumbled their apologies and shuffled away, giggling quietly and looking through their phone galleries to inspect if the photos had come out all right. By 9 p.m., Pooja had traded her business avatar for a social media Saturday night one. She found me next to Alex, who was busy snapping passable photos as quickly as possible to keep the corridor from getting too cramped. "Come here, I wanted to introduce you to someone," she said, handing me a glass of red wine. She led me to the front of the room where an American man was speaking to Hina. He was older, in his 50s perhaps, but well groomed and fit. "David, hey," Pooja said as we joined them at their cocktail table. "This is Ananya from my team." She then looked at me and said, "This is Davy Myler from International." I took a pause before offering him my hand, uncertain about the proper way to greet a superior in a setting like this. "It's pleasure to meet you." "The pleasure is mine. You have done a wonderful job tonight, and the food is exquisite," he said, gesturing towards the charcuterie plate on the table. His black rimmed spectacles intensified the shadows in his eyes, so he looked like he was being stern even when he smiled. "Thank you, and I'll convey your compliments to the chef," I said, and he nodded. From the corner of my eye, I saw Pooja exhaling a subtle release of tension. I realized that this was the first time she was introducing me to a higher up from the company outside of the work hours. Did this mean I was joining the ranks? I love the best man idea. By the way, it could be really be something if the execution is tasteful, he said after a minute. We don't let you down, I said, stealing a glance in my boss' directions. To fresh ideas, she said, raising her wine glass in my direction. May we never run out of them. A little while later, Rajat appeared at our side looking frantic. Pooja and I left David in the care of Hina and her unnamed date and followed him to the corner in front of the washrooms. What is it? I asked, failing to mask the anxiety in my voice. It's Kyra, he said, tugging at the sleeves of his oversized blazer nervously. Oh, she's here. Great. Pooja said, taking another sip of her wine. The three of us turned out heads to look at the booth where the car was parked. A buzz was forming around it. She was perched on the bonnet, her long legs stretching out seductively as she posed. Yeah, but she won't be shoot at the bar, he said. What? Why? I asked. She says she is on an alcohol cleanliness. She won't endorse a product she does not consume, he said. I let out a puff of air. Was I to believe that she was going to be a sober for the entire night? Who needs alcohol when you can just? Pooja said as she touched her nose and winked at me. When neither of us said anything more, Rajat ran back to the influencer he was in charge of. Oh, Pooja, I began, wondering why she had not started screaming at me yet. Yeah, the Stellar Spirits guys are expecting her as a promoter, I said. Of course they are, but as long as we did not promise them anything, I cut off her off. I kinda did, I said, then added after a pause on email. The wine induced softness that had made its way to her face swiftly disappeared. What? She whispered, screamed. I tried my best to explain the special circumstances under which I had broken this cardinal rule, but obviously I could not give her anything more. You have to fix this, Ananya, she said, her voice cold. I know, yes, I will, I said, glancing at Kyra, who was now socializing with some of others. Influencer? No, not her. She won't do it, she said, shaking her head. Make good with Stellar Spritz rap, get him drunk, make sure he has one hell of a night. If he does not make a big deal out of this, neither will his team. I nodded at her, assuring her that I would fix it. She did not look convinced, but she left me to deal with it on my own. I filtered the crowd with my eyes, searching for the one person I would hope to avoid tonight. The idea of making good with him, whatever that meant, made me want to throw up. But unless I want to kiss my promotion goodbye, I would have to exactly that. I spotted him walking away from the bar, two drinks in his hand. He was making his way towards the rear end of the room. I followed him, soldiering through the ever-growing crowd of the party. Ryan hindered my pursuit when he crashed into me in front of the car gate. Watch it, he said, then changed his tone when he looked up. Oh, it's you. He filled me in about the latest crisis he was dealing with. I patted his arm, telling him I had to go deal with mine. My pit stop with Ryan had given Adar a longer head start, and when I finally emerged from the crowd, I found him smiling at the person I would forgotten I had brought with me to the party. I turned around immediately, burying myself in the mass of people once again. I retrieved my phone from my trousers and called Verinda, hoping she would pick up. She did on the second ring. Dude, come to the washroom right now. I had to almost shout to be heard over the chatter. I only moved away when I saw her excusing herself from the table. Once we were inside the washroom, I checked the cubicles to ensure we were alone. And you didn't tell me he was cute. She squealed, clutching my arms. This is serious. Why the hell were you talking to him? I asked. She turned towards the mirror, a teeny frown forming on her face as she said, he came over to talk to me just now. What did he say? I asked, ignoring the fact that she sounded a little cross. She pulled at the neckline of her dress, adjusting the amount of cleavage she wanted to be displayed. That he felt like he had seen me somewhere, she said, then added in a lighter, playful one. I think he was hitting on me. Oh God, he has seen you somewhere, I said, holding up my phone to remind her of our little Instagram adventure. Oh shit, she said, turning to face me. A woman entered the washroom and we lowered our voice as she went inside. What do we do now? He can't find you, and I are best friends. I said, trying to limit the panic in my voice. Yeah, or he will know you were stalking him, she said with a giggle. I threw her and I don't need this right now look, and she held up her hands in surrender. I'll book myself a cab home, she said, sounding just a tad bit disappointed. I'm really sorry. I could not spend more time with you tonight, I said, pouching innocently at my best friends. I'll make it up to you. She hugged me, asking if I could steal a bottle of whiskey for her to leave with. Just one, I asked, making her laugh. I waited with her in the washroom while her cabby showed up, filling her in about what had happened with Kyra. So you are going to spend the evening chatting up with Mr. Adar Chauhan? She asked, teasing. Please stop that, I said, and punched her arm lightly. I'm just saying, she said, struggling casually. It could have been worse. It could have been ugly. Now that would have helped. It took me a good 15 minutes to find him because he would left the room altogether. I panicked when I saw him standing outside the main door, assuming he was waiting for the next Valet, are you leaving already? I asked, stepping on the pavement. If he was surprised to see me, he did not show it. No. He held up his left hand and took a drag of his cigarette. That thing will kill you, you know, I said, stepping away from the door and closer to him. He turned his head to look at me and slowly exhaled the smoke. Did you come out here in the heat to give me a health warning? His face was devoid of any expression. This was not working. I realized that if I wanted him to warm up to me, I would have to make a genuine effort. So even though it made me want to cringe, I decided it was officially time to kiss Adar's ass. I just feel like we got off on the wrong foot, I said, trying to sound sincere, and tonight's a good time to change that. That seemed to be assume him. Alright, he said after a brief pause. How do you propose we do that? I could tell he was trying to figure me out, but I was glad he did not straight up refuse my peace offering. You could get me a drink to start with, I said, then Moke whispered, don't worry, it's free. Haha. He said, but he had a hint of a smile on his face. I waited for him to crush the cigarette and then led the way back indoors. What are you drinking? He asked me at the bar, which was getting noisier by the minute. I would have a bit of everything up until now, thanks to the stolen sips and drinks. As usually, I preferred wine or beer over any other type of alcohol, but I pointed at his empty whiskey glass. Tonight, I needed to be on his level. With our drinks in our hands, we gravitated towards an empty table in one of the quieter corners of the room. I placed my glass on the high table and leaned on it with my elbows, taking a moment to appreciate the turnout tonight. Looks pretty different than that day, huh? Adar asked, following my gaze. I worked very hard to make sure of it. I said, I bet, he said with a hint of sarcasm, when he must have regretted because he changed the topic with a compliment. Nice suit, by the way. You too, I said, pointing to his black and blue woven Italian tuxedo. 3 out of the 4 times I would met this man, he had been dressed in formals. I wondered if that was because he knew he looked pretty good in them. So, explored any more Rishtas? I asked, and he chuckled. Been on any more Tinder dates? He retorted. Yeah, too, I said, unfazed. He took a second to sip the drink in his hand. You are telling me you have been on 2 dates with 2 different guys since the last time I saw you? I placed my glass back on the table, a little harder than I would have meant to. Are you slut shaming me? No, no, I'm not. I'm just surprised you had the time. With all this in the pipeline, he said, gesturing, gesturing at the room around us. I made the time I have a rule. I trailed off. I was revealing too much. Talking to him about my love life made me uneasy. He was on doubt going to judge me for it, but I did have to keep the conversation going somehow. Do tell, he said, fading interest. Just answer his question. I instructed myself, you can do it. I go on date every week, give or take. I finally divulged. Wow, he said. And how many weeks has this rule lived to see? I attempted to calculate how long it had been since my breakup with my lying, cheating pig of an ex in 2017, but the whiskey must have impaired my abilities to do quick math. Like 3 years, I offered. He leaned forward, resting his chin on his right hand. You have been over 150 dates, he asked, his face lightened up with hilarity. I mean, I have no idea if that is the actual math or not, but yeah, my friends call me a bit of serial dater. Okay, I was definitely oversharing. He did not need to know any of this. It did not help that he looked like he was finally having a good time, revealing in the failures of my romantic adventurous. Enough about me, I said before he could probe further. Alright, what do you want to know? He asked. The same thing I asked you the last time we were here together. Why would someone like you turn to arranged marriage? He took a breath and I wondered if he was contemplating whether to tell me the truth or not. Was his family pressuring him? Was he a traditionalist? Or did he derive some weird from entertainment from the process? I want to start a family, he finally said. Hmm? I said modestly for him to elaborate. I'm just ready to settle down, that's all, he said, holding my gaze. So you are going to let your parents find a girl for you? I asked, genuinely puzzled by what I was hearing. I mean, why not? They are just introducing me to the right pool of people, he said, then added after a second. They are like a Tinder for a marriage. I laughed at that and he joined in. From across the room, I caught up Pooja's eyes, and she nodded at me approvingly. Wait a second. Was this actually working? But the whole system is so regressive, I said, getting back to the subject. I mean, how can you gallivant all of your life and then look for a virgin bahu when you turn 28? It's ridiculous. He raised his hand, gesturing to a waiter who was serving drinks. It turned out to be Jerry. He greeted us warmly, happy to see the 2 people he knew at this party together. He replaced our glasses with 2 fresh whiskeys, water, and left. But I am not looking for a virgin bahu, he said, clicking his glass with a mine. I would like a virgin patni. He laughed at his own joke and I shook my head. I clicked my tongue when I spoke. You know what I mean. There are so many other hypocritical things, and you don't even get me started on that religion, caste, and class filters. He nodded, tapping his hands on the cloth table. Yeah, but it does not have to be like that. A system is what you make of it. I am looking for a girl to settle down with. I don't care about her past, her background, and all of that, he argued. I said, trying to bite my tongue. No part of me believed that he was a liberal in his matchmaking ventures as he was making it sound. Even he did not have the typical arranged marriage filters in place his parents would have. I could bet my life on that fact that Muslim girl would never sit so the protective net. But it felt like we were getting along, and I had to keep up my agreeable act if I wanted this night to go in my favor. So even though it physically pained me not to argue with him on the matter, I decided to let it go. So how many women have you seen? Have you seen? I asked, like biodatas or in person. The letter. He shifted his weight from one leg to another and snugged at glance at my phone. It was five past midnight, and people were beginning to leave. The room felt emptier than before, and the music had mellowed down too. Apart from Rajat and another intern from the office, I could spot any lurking co-workers. I haven't really kept count, he said, shrugging. Give me a ballpark figure. I don't know, 20, 30, maybe. That, for some reason, cracked me up. A loud laugh erupted from me, and I felt a few eyes on me from around the room. Adar waited for me to stop laughing, unimpressed. I just realized what you are, I said, trying to stifle another laugh. What? A serial shooter, I said, and burst out laughing again. His amusement at me was laced with a speck of anonymous. All right, I think you have had enough, he said, eyeing my half empty whiskey glass. I protested half heartedly, but I knew he was right. I was not drunk, but I was well on my way. Besides, it looked like the party was more or less over. I followed him outside, waving goodbye to Ryan, who was speaking to a transportation guy in the back. A part of me felt bad that he would have to be here for hours winding up, but this was his job, and I would done it enough times to know there was no way around it. How are you getting home? Ada asked when we stepped outside. I'll call a cab, I said. I'll drop you off, he said, handing the valet his parking ticket. You don't have to do that. I'm fine, I said at the precise moment I stumbled on a stone. He chuckled and mumbled under his breath, clearly. I puffed my mouth, ready to stick back the bag with verbal vengeance, but the sober party of my brain reminded me of what was on the line here. Today was not the right day to pick a fight with this man, and if he wanted to drop me home, I was going to let him. I would spend the greater part of the evening with him. Surely I could have tolerated him for a little while longer, right? Besides, if he was so keen to look out for me today, chances were he would have me out on Monday too, when I would tell him and his team about Kyra Deblake. So, Mr. Serial Shooter, I could not help spying, saying once we were sitting inside his red Kia. Don't start, he said as he pulled out the street. I'm just curious, what's the rush? Like, why not just wait for the right person to come along? I asked. Like you are doing with your instant dating. I know you are trying to spin this around on me, but I'm pretty happy with the way things are in my love life. Really, he stole a look at me and said, "So you are not looking for a love?" I am, I admitted, but I am not actively doing it. One date a week, I would say that's pretty active, he chuckled. I closed my arms, turning sideways so I could face him properly. Are you saying there is something wrong with me? That's why I haven't found someone? Either that or with all 150 of the guys you have gone on dates with, probability is not in your favor, he said. The tension in the car was hitting, and as much as I wanted to undo it, there was no going back. I was in too deep, and my pride would not let me back down. Oh, shut up. You are one to talk, I exclaimed, like you haven't rejected your fair share of prospects, and this is when your parents already waited them for you. That's right. I rejected them, not the other way around. Well, I rejected you when you came to see me, so maybe the others did too. He let out a dry, sarcastic laugh and said, I am a catch. Why is no one catching you then? I demanded. Well, I'll get you caught before you do, he said, pulling into the lane my apartment building was on. It struck me that he would drive all this way without asking for directions. He must be one of those people who remembered addresses even if they would visit once. You wanna bet on that? I asked as we waited for the security guard to open the gate for the car. Yeah, why not? I said, letting out a big laugh, feeling my competitive spirit kick in. He parked outside my building and shut off the engine. Then he unblocked his seatbelt and turned to face me. So, what are you proposing? He had his game face on. I know, I should have laughed the whole thing up. I should have thanked him for the drive, said goodnight, and gone home. Instead, I chose to wind myself up in the biggest large I would face him in my entire life. Let's see who can find someone first. And if you get yourself a wife before I can find a boyfriend, you win. I have expected him to laugh in my face, to call me crazy and drive away, but he did not. Instead, he held my gaze, his jaw tightening as he mulled over what I said. What does the winner get? He finally asked. The satisfaction of being the bigger catch, I said in a tone that suggested I was pointing out the obvious. An irritating smirk light up his face as he said, "You are on." सो गाइस यहाँ पे हमारा ये वाला चैप्टर खत्म होता है। सही लग रही है बुक, मतलब मुझे तो ठीक लग रही है, मतलब कुछ तो है जो आपको जोड़े रख रहा है ये बुक पढ़ने के लिए। सो डोंट फॉरगेट टू लाइक शेयर एंड कमेंट एंड प्लीज़ वॉच माई ऑल वीडियोज़। थैंक्स फॉर वॉचिंग।